Well, good afternoon, everybody, to those present with us in our online space today, and those watching afterwards. Welcome to the August First Friday, and for those that already know the format, or perhaps those that are new, I often see I see how many people register, and each month it just creeps up a little bit further. So I always think that maybe somebody's joining us for the first time, in which case you've got a whole lot of back episodes to watch from the start of the year. So this is now that eighth one, and so there's plenty of things that we've already looked at through the start of the year, trying to really help and support and reflect on sort of local church communications in particular. And our August one, of course, is thanks Hannah for popping that on there. So that's it.
Going too fast.
To remind those that perhaps don't know Hannah and I, so I've got a national role in the specialist teams, and Hannah is working regionally and locally on a whole range of different projects, and together we're trying to collaborate and support local churches in their communications. And August's First Friday will be looking at very much a sort of a live consultation, trying to help a particular event that's going to be planned in the autumn, and we'll just try and sort of help us all reflect on perhaps some basic principles that will be helpful as you think about an event that's coming up within the next couple of months. What are the things you need to be doing now to be ready for that event to go well? So as I think as the previous slide also just said, that we will roughly be here for around about 30 minutes or so, and then we'll have some chat here in the space, and for those watching afterwards, you will get just this sort of opening half an hour. So thanks Hannah and Annette.
Super cool. So just to begin with, I'm only going to mainly speak for one slide, which is quite a shocker. But I just want to kind of encourage positively, but encourage to kind of challenge you to really think about using August as a time to reflect, review, sort of not entirely reevaluate, but sort of take advantage of this time when it is a bit quieter. And it's a quieter time for church. I appreciate, well, most of the time it's a quieter time for the churches, but I appreciate that, for many people it is still quite a busy time, but hopefully the sort of release slightly in capacity of needing to create lots of content and do lots of things, hopefully will give you a bit of time to be able to think about what you're going to do for the second half of the year. So one of the things I'd really say is look back at your past content for kind of the last 6 months, I'd say for this year, or even sort of what things that you did last year, but think about what has worked well, what have been sort of content types or stories or people that you've engaged with that have been very popular for engagement, or that you felt very kind of pleased about sharing, or that have been quite good for I don't say getting people in the building, but that sort of the relationship of not just sharing online and sort of having that one-way conversation, but actually seeing people kind of engaging across in hybrid nature. So look back at what you've done in the past, then look forward at what you've got coming up. So look ahead for, I won't say up to Christmas, but thinking kind of a little bit into January as well. I think, what have you got big events on, whether that's in your church or your community? September is return back to schools, whether for anyone at school, but even if you're in a university town, city, that is that quite a big deal for your community in September? What community activities are going on? Are there things going on over the summer, or is there what they called I think where I used to live there, I think it was in September, they used to have like a half marathon that sort of shut down a lot of the roads. Things that you need to actually think about. Oh, we've got to remind people that they can't access things, or this is a lovely thing to get involved with. So really think about what's going on over the next 6 months. And think well about your church dates. So obviously if you've got events happening in the church, but what other things that might not necessarily be any there might not be special events as such, but sort of more liturgical dates. So whether that's harvest, remembrance, don't want to say Halloween as such, but, is there something that could be interpreted for, light festivals or light celebrations? What are things that you need to be thinking about? And really work, again, use this time, if you've got a bit of extra time, work on setting up a content calendar that really, and it's what works best for you. It's not that there's one set way of doing it. I've got templates that I've shared out before, and, people are welcome to use them, but also make your own as to what works best for you, what works best for you and what works best for your team. But it is helpful spending a bit of time looking at planning and really strategizing out what you're going to say for the next couple of months. It saves you time in the long run of when September, October, November, and then even Christmas starts getting busy, because you've already started to think about these. And the big thing as well, continue to post over summer. There's so many churches that just because not much happens in the church over the summer, not much gets posted, and you're really losing out on people engaging, keeping it kind of in people's algorithms and on their feeds. If there's nothing for them to engage with, they don't engage with anything, and therefore it does not get put in front of them. So put stuff out that is helpful for people. If you can't put anything because the church is not creating. So one of the big things I'm seeing on my feeds at the moment are sharing places where you can get free meals from, families and kids can get free meals from. That's how amazing would that be if churches was sharing that information, regardless of whether you have an Asda or a Tesco's or whoever near you, but actually just sharing out that information might be helpful for someone who does happen to go past. I think it's Asda and Tesco's were specifically doing some, but actually share resources like that out. Again, share celebrations of things going on in your local community. So I was mentioning before we recorded about having my local carnival was going on. Wouldn't it be really lovely to sort of say, reshare something from the carnival saying, brilliant that this is going on. We're praying for those organising, those volunteering, those taking part, and those visiting our town. We hope you enjoy it. And, there's no kind of agenda in it, but just something celebration and sort of supporting the community. But also, if there is stuff going on within your church, if you've got holiday clubs or certain activities, your church is, kids going to satellites this weekend, I think it is. Or if, because it's a quieter time, actually you're spending a lot of time doing some renovations, tidying the gardens or whatever, share those pictures. People like seeing those kind of things because it shows a bit of sort of behind the scenes and sort of the realness of who the church family are and what church life is like. And then finally, try something different whilst it's quieter. So if you've been kind of wanting to touch on reels or sort of the TikTok kind of short profile style videos, why not play around with that over the summer and just see kind of, let's have a go at doing some bits whilst the weather's nice and the gardens are looking lovely, or whilst we've got some nice light in the church through the windows. Have a play around with that and just see where, so there's no kind of like pressure, rather than trying to do it at Christmas when you've got so many things to think about and so many things to kind of like capture. Do it now whilst it's a bit quieter. So that's kind of, that's me. But really just, it's so easy to go, it's quieter, we can all have a rest. And that is lovely. And we should be doing that. And it's not about using the spare time to fill every second. But just because it's a bit quieter, actually now's the chance to really plan for the year ahead, or the season ahead, but also try something different whilst there's opportunity to do it, and even get people involved of doing it. If you've got some younger people back from uni over the summer, is there a way that you can get them involved? So now we are going to talk to Annette, who, I think Mike wrote in the email, she is the roof breaker disability champion at Countess Free Church. So I'm going to unshare my screen, so I'll stop sharing even. And then Annette, if you'd like to just give us a bit of an introduction as to who you are and what sort of context that we're going to be talking about today, and then we can go on to kind of our next thoughts and reflections.
Of course. Yeah. So hi, everybody. As mentioned, I'm Annette. So it may seem like a maybe a slightly different context from an average church, because I'm not a church communications officer like in the entirety, but as was mentioned, I'm a roof breaker, which is a disability champion. following an initiative from the charity Through the Roof, who I do actually work for as well. So it's a bit confusing, but I'm talking today from a personal point of view through my church, because I do comms for the there's a group called the Rich Tea Community, which we run at the Countess Free Church in Ely, which is affiliated to the Baptist Union. And it's a group for adults with learning disabilities. And it started in 2020. And I was kind of on board to do publicity and posters to get it off the ground. And yeah, it seems to be thriving. But we always have a not constant, but a kind of, yeah, because it's a brand new thing. We have been trying to raise the profile of it locally in the community, but also within the church, because there's a sort of, not exactly a barrier, but I suppose that, you know, people often see church as the Sunday service, and we have our group once a month on a Sunday afternoon, and people seem very happy for it to happen, but not that keen for it to integrate with the service. So we've not had many opportunities to kind of, yeah, come and share in the service. But this September we do have, we've for the first time been invited to run a service. So we're running it as a Disability Awareness Sunday service, another initiative from Through the Roof. So the 17th of September is the official Disability Awareness Sunday. But you can do it whenever you want. And my church has actually chosen to do it the week after, because the lectionary reading fitted better. Because the theme is the unique gifts God gives us. So what I've done, so I've just, if you don't mind, I'll share my screen and show you. So just so you can see the, you know, so even though it sounds like I'm a professional communications officer, but I'm not quite sure why I got the job. So I got taken on because I'm a trained editor, book editor, worked for Cambridge University Press for about 15 years, but I'm not really very savvy with digital. So I used to have a digital communications officer who did all of that, and now I was the print person, and now he's leaving. So I have, from the 11th of August, I'm going to be doing all the digital comms as well, and I'm a bit terrified. So Hannah and Mike sort of agreed to take pity on me and help to kind of, me to kind of share with you some of the stuff that I'm doing for my church, which sort of ties in with what I'm doing for my job. But I do have some kind of technical issues with where I don't know how to make something a bit more kind of, enticing in a kind of graphic-y way. So let me just find the share button, and then
I do just want to add, though, the reason partly that we wanted to pick Annette to join us for today to talk is that she's not a full-time comms person within the church. She's involved in some ministries within the church, but obviously has a heart for a particular area through her work, and trying to kind of link that in with the church. And so what we thought, actually, that the things that we're going to talk about could be applicable to so many different aspects within your own any church and anything. So whilst, okay, we're talking about a disability service, actually you could be talking about holiday hunger or eco or something like that. So actually what we're going to talk about is you know, the bones of it can be so applicable to so many different causes and events, essentially.
Yeah, so I think we definitely hope that it will be relevant. But yes, so imagine, so we're talking about Disability Awareness Sunday, but imagine it could be, you know, Harvest Festival, or it could be student service or whatever. So it's just about the fact that, so I was nervous that we, you know, when Through the Roof announced that they were going to have Disability Awareness Sunday in September, I was quite worried, because I thought, well, the summer, you know, the lead up to it is quite hard. You know, that summer period is quite hard to build a momentum towards an event, because as Hannah explained earlier, it can be kind of, you know, time that everybody's just having a rest. So I didn't want to sit on my laurels and do nothing. So this is just to show you the post that I produced for my local. So this is our Rich Tea community logo. It does have a bottom half, but for some reason or other it seemed to fit best to, you know, this could just be me, but I ended up with just showing the top half, because I couldn't work out how to get it. It seemed to work best, and you could see the text better. And just shared this post that that on a, like, this is just the regular community. So we're meeting on the 18th, I think it is of September. And 3:30 till 5, and just always give all the dates for the rest of the year and say what say what, when they're going to be, and get hot and cold drinks and come and do craft and singing and drama and stuff. So that's what we do at our normal events. But then Disability Awareness Sunday, so what I normally do with the regular Rich Tea posts is I just share them on our church Facebook group, and then on the Churches Together in Ely, which is our local community group. And I've done the same with this post. So this picture is of Ashley, who is the sort of poster girl for Disability Awareness Sunday from Through the Roof. But at the time when I created this post a couple of days ago, I kind of really wanted to do something a bit cleverer, but I don't really know how to do it. So my colleague Pete had produced, if I can find it, in Canva. I got it up. I'll try and have this
just on the one next to it.
That one there.
No, the right tab to the right. Yeah.
So I'm having this problem that my mouse just doesn't click. So excuse me for a moment. I've got to press Control-Alt-Delete to try and get my mouse to reactivate. So if I disappear for a second, don't panic. I'm coming back.
Right, you're here.
Just that. Thank you. It's just for some reason I need to fix this problem. But yeah, the mouse just suddenly decides not to click things. It's still not clicking things. I know the task manager is coming up, and it's woken everything up again, and things are happening. Okay, so hopefully it's opening. But yeah, so there's this flyer that my colleague Pete produced. Gosh, it's taken a long time. Sorry.
Don't worry.
But yeah, so to kind of use the picture a bit more inventively. But yeah, I don't yet know how to use Canva to do anything like this. So I opened it the other day thinking, right, well, maybe I could just, use this graphic, as with the writing on instead of just the plain photo. But at the time, I only had it as a PDF, and I couldn't work out how to even save it as a JPEG. So so you can see the level of my comms knowledge is not the highest, but I did, on the advice of that we've had with the social media beginners, I did get onto Canva. So I'm hoping that I will be able to learn more. But I did want to ask actually whether what Hannah and Mike think about whether this graphic would be better because I could probably swap it on Facebook, but I didn't know if it would end up with the text looking a bit too small.
So I mean, personally, I love that you're thinking consistently, because I have seen her graphics and stories and stuff on the Through the Roof socials. And so you're bringing that kind of linking everything together, which is really important. And actually also having a person's face there is quite shows it's real, but it's sort of it's bringing sort of something a bit more tangible to the event. I would say, so within Canva, I don't know if they do it actually as it's called Facebook event banner, but there is a setting that it will give you the right size graphics at the right dimensions to create the right graphics. It's all right. We can talk about that another time, and we'll get you whizzing around Canva in no time at all. But to have because of how Facebook is, I would put the kind of the important person, or if it's writing or something, kind of on the right hand side, because of how the Facebook in similar of a page that you've got the profile and stuff that kind of takes up on the left hand side. So in a way, I would slightly change the orientation of it so that she is on the right side, and I'd probably take off the words in a way, but have the red so that there's still a sense of brand identity alongside it, but equally you could put it up for a bit, see how it looks for people. I know that we'd said about how it would look on mobile. So it might be something of saying to making it slightly smaller or slightly longer, then, because it would be a longer graphic that's too, hang on, which way, that's not wide enough, and it's probably too tall to it. But I like that you're thinking about having something that brings it together. But yeah, Mike, anything to add?
Yeah, it's probably just the text at the bottom, the through the roof and the telephone number and the @ handle. It's probably something that you'd probably put in post so that the image itself would be a bit cleaner.
Yeah.
Is what I personally probably do with that.
Okay, so yeah, I guess now that I know how to so Anna did teach me that I, in order to save it as a JPEG, all I had to go was go to share, and I was like, oh, is that it? Because I knew there must be like you can save it as a and I was like, I don't understand. So it was download, wasn't it? And then you could change like the option to JPEG and stuff. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, anyway, so when I did that, I guess I could then crop it. But yeah, so that is my post for Disability Awareness Sunday. And so that's where I'd sort of got to. But then I also, so that was the where it was going to start. But I kind of tried to think over the summer, what am I going to post? Oh, that's stupid. Not being able to click things happened again. So I'll just try and like get my mouse to come back to life.
But while we wait as well, important thing to add as well, that it's really good that you're thinking, even though it's, nearly 2 months away, this service, but you're thinking, right, it needs to get posted now because people will be less active or maybe less engaged. So actually you're giving people that time for them to see things, because you don't want to leave it till the first week of September to put something up for an event at the end of September, like unless it's like free dinners at, I don't know, your local Nando's or something. No one is going to be really dropping everything to go to something if they've already made plans. So you need to kind of put these things out now so that people go, oh, that's quite interesting. Actually, we might go along to that. And especially as you said about sharing it within your Churches Together pages, the likelihood is not everyone for this event will necessarily want to come especially to the service. I mean, obviously you've got your church family who will be coming along anyway, but there may be others within your local community, whether they are at other churches or whether they are not, but maybe wanting to explore church, but unfortunately church has never really been that disability access friendly. And so this is a wonderful way of going, no, we're sort of acknowledging these things. We'd love for you to join us, and being able to share that across the whole of your Churches Together is a really lovely way of kind of sort of I don't know if you said it already, but you did say it yesterday when we chatted. It was sort of, it's a unity service effectively, with a specific cause and theme and sort of topic of conversation.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah, for reminding me, because that is sort of why I decided to try and share it more widely, because I guess I want sort of the Rich Tea community to be better known locally as a group, but also Disability Awareness Sunday to be known more locally and maybe taken up by some other churches in the local area rather than just my own. But like you say, it was partly that, and partly just I thought, oh, what am I going to post over the summer? Because the other news is that our minister has just left, and he was our sort of comms person as well as being the minister, because he was quite techie and he loved posting on all the different social media, but he left last week. So I thought I was going to get landed with it, so I started panicking, like, what am I going to fill the summer with? But fortunately another lady at the church called Izzy is taking that on, so I only have to think about Through the Roof's digital, but I am hoping that I might do some posts that I might be able to get to share, like that Izzy might share through the church one as well. So this is like my makeshift sort of summer social media planner. So you can get, I have looked into Buffer, which was one of the ones you mentioned, I think, in the social media kind of training that in some of the earlier First Fridays, but yeah, so we can get a 50% discount for Through the Roof, but I still need to get sign off on that. So at the moment I just have this spreadsheet where I've put the weeks and just like some ideas about what I might share. So I have two basic ideas. One is a kind of summer related post. So I was thinking about, so I guess because of my particular hats that I wear, they're all kind of related to disability, but I wanted to kind of bring in, sort of while people are relaxing, I don't want to kind of be too heavy. So I found some, so I went on to Pixabay, which was another recommended resource, which I found absolutely fantastic. Just check whether I've still got it open. I think I have. And found some different posts about sort of like disabled people on holiday, and kind of just thinking about the sort of challenges that disabled people, was this the one? No, this is not particularly the one, but I was just searching for like, this was when I was looking for green wheelchairs earlier, but I remember I searched for disabled, I think it was just disabled person, and then I because there were loads of good pictures in the sponsored ones at the top, but it was a bit harder to find the free ones. But I did find, I'm sure I found a picture of a guy on a beach, sort of about how people in wheelchairs find it hard, I guess, going about on the sand, and that there were sort of stories around about how you can get these special mats that you can lay down on the beach so that wheelchairs can trundle over them. So I thought I might be able to kind of post a picture like this one here, and then they have a little story and then a link to I think it was in Devon somewhere, they'd kind of put these mats down over a beach so that you didn't end up with lots of people kind of abandoning their wheelchairs. And here was a good one that I also found on, if I can get it to open. Oh, I got a Word file where I kind of just dumped a load of pictures just as a reminder to self. But so that's the idea, is that I'll have here's this guy who's like just enjoying the sun, but obviously can't get very far down to the beach, and here's someone who's just completely abandoned their wheelchair at the end of the boardwalk. Just thinking about kind of summer pictures, people in wheelchairs on holiday and or in living in Myanmar, people like on a country walk, but kind of can't get through stiles and gates, all the kind of challenges that disabled people have, difficulties with travel when you're disabled, if you're kind of going on a plane or on a train, but the fact that there are kind of nice disabled friendly boardwalks and stuff around. So I don't know, that was one idea I had, that I could kind of post some pictures just to kind of fill in there.
But in this case, it's, you've got your kind of social justice issue, so kind of, I would say, like theme X, if we're applying this to any other church, so it's not about hammering agenda and you've all got to change our churches to be disabled friendly access, or we've got to be green and no fossil fuels being used in churches at all, something like that. But actually going, here is some encouraging things, here are things, not being light-hearted or flippant about challenges that people face, but going, actually, this is what life is like. And sort of, it's almost a kind of entertaining or educating people rather than trying to kind of sell something
that's it. It was sort of, the reason I kind of thought these would be a helpful build up to disability awareness is because it kind of just highlights issues that you might never have thought of, that I guess these people who kind of designed these gates where you can kind of sort of chicanes where you when you're on foot you can quite easily squeeze through through a little gap, but and maybe I don't know why they put that kind of overhead barrier there that stopped this lady from having to duck like that, maybe just so that a car or a bike couldn't sort of just whiz through, but then it does cause barriers. But it's more just highlighting, and then the other idea was to do with stories. So I started drafting a post, but there I was going to call it Disability Diaries, and sort of like the story of a particular disabled person each time, about how they have people at their church have helped to break down barriers to church life. So I've got a story from a lady called Alison about which she's called My Green Wheelchair, and I've set it up as a draft post, if I can find that one. If it will let me click it. I'm going to have to work out why this click problem is happening. It is starting to move. But again, my graphic design skills are nil. So at the moment it is in a very, very kind of basic form, but it's a concept. So I'm hoping to see if you've got any advice about how I post this, Hannah and Mike. But at the moment it's just a picture of a green wheelchair. So this is a stock image, but I am asking Alison if she could send me a picture of her actual green wheelchair with her in it, but I'm still waiting on that. But it's the idea is to do a little series of disability diaries, and Alison's story is about how she moved to a new church, and she was really kind of, as a disabled person, she says her confidence was just about zero, and she sat at the back trying not to be seen. But a lady in the church knew her and told the church leadership that she could sing and play the piano, and so they got her involved singing at a Christmas service, and from that point on, she just sort of really kind of, you know, felt that she valued in the church, because quite often disabled people are seen as, in the church community, you know, people don't mean to, but sort of, you know, as a sort of person to help, rather than a person with gifts they can bring to the church community. And she was just so overwhelmed to feel that she was needed, and that she was, you know, she was sort of worried about like not being perfect, not being kind of, accepted. And now the church leave this green wheelchair at the front next to the piano for Alison to use, and it stays there all the time as a symbol of disability inclusion and the fact that disabled people are welcome in the church. So this was going to be my first story, but I've got a series of different ones for about different disabled people, to try and kind of just let people's lived experience kind of speak for themselves, really, about how churches can help.
Yeah, but that's going out on.
Sorry, go on.
Well, no, I was going to say that's going out on Through the Roof, but you want to share that through your church's account then?
As well. That's what I'm thinking. That like I'll ask, you know, Izzy if she'd repost it, or whether, you know, if that's possible, just because it will help to kind of start to, because we did a disability training at my church, but not very many people came to it. So the idea was the whole congregation would come along on a Thursday night, and it was advertised for weeks and weeks and weeks in advance. But, you know, I completely understand it. If I wasn't the disability advocate, I probably wouldn't have wanted to give up my Thursday night to sit on a Zoom call to listen to disability training. But the people who did come found it really helpful. So we just thought, what's a way we can kind of share something in a fun way and a sort of positive way, exactly like you said, Hannah, that these stories of positive actions that churches have made are nice kind of human interest stories, but also do make the point of kind of educating as well.
And sharing it from your church account helps to bulk out your feed when the church might not be creating its own organic content. So again, for any other churches, you know, look at people that are linked or of interest, you know, look at what the BU's posting out, because they're not going to stop over August, you know, like and share their stuff. That's very helpful. Sorry, Mike, I interrupted you a minute ago.
No, that brilliant what you've just said. And I was just thinking back to some of the things that we've already spoken about on First Fridays earlier on in the year. What you're trying to do here, Annette, is that when Ben Lucas was on and was talking about listening, you know, it's that whole thing that part of our comms is trying to encourage deep listening, and then that's what you're doing through this communication. You've got, for me, it's a bit like sort of concentric circles, isn't it? You're talking about a very particular event in September, but then you've got the sort of your wider church engagement with disability justice, and then perhaps your locality, and then bigger strategy in terms of long term about how your calling is to help people with disabilities to be welcomed and valued, and their gifts recognized, and not just be there as somebody to be paid for and helped through. So you've got, what I see is that, yes, those concentric circles getting bigger and bigger in terms of strategy and listening and overall effectiveness for raising in a really good way, positive way, the issues of disability justice. And I think this is a great idea.
I'm aware of time.
Right. Well, I think that was basically me. So thank you for listening.
No,
and I'll stop sharing.
Super. Thank you, Annette, for sharing behind the scenes of what you're working on. And hopefully that has helped to kind of spark some ideas, hopefully educate, you know, if you're kind of new to thinking about disability within the church stuff. But, you know, there's so many different ways that you can sort of just change disability for something else, and about how it kind of interweaves within the church comms and things. And kind of from the other side, from if you're the comms person and you've got people within your church like Annette, of who are a champion, or they have a kind of, say, professional interest for some sort of ministry or something, do what Annette's doing of saying to them, look, okay, you're not going to have like full free reins of the social media feeds, but could you do 6 weeks or something of some content, you know, or could you do a couple sort of types of content, get them to find the stuff if that's what they are passionate about. So if you've got someone who's very passionate about eco and environment, or you've got someone who's passionate about overseas ministries and you're the mission partners that you've got, get them to actually find those stories, find those kind of human interest pieces, find the things of how this applies to our community. And, you know, then it'll be like, you don't have to do the work. Obviously, you still have to do work for it, but essentially you've got someone who's sort of either more interested or maybe more expert in that area who's creating content. And again, then it's saving you the stress of going, I have to create everything. It's just me. And then when August comes, you just don't want to do anything. But actually, if you've got that team around you who are helping to create content, find content within the church, it just makes everyone's life a bit easier. So yeah, that's hopefully that's been kind of helpful and interesting and a little bit different. Yeah, that's us done for today. There's not really any handouts for today, but I will sort of put some kind of summary points from what we've talked about with Annette in something. So you will get something to some notes, but we will be not next Friday. At the next First Friday. No, not next Friday. At the next First Friday will be on the 1st of September. And we will be doing sort of specifically communications case study for how to prepare for winter and Advent. So again, a bit similar to here, but actually thinking about what content are we creating? What do we need to be thinking about for both social media, social and digital, but also thinking about print and all the other things that we have to do, thinking about the wonderful winter season, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting quite excited for. I'm wishing time away. But yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for those who are here, and thank you to those who, if you're watching this afterwards, as Mike said already, you know, to get in touch, or you can find out all of the past recordings and stuff on the First Friday page on the BU site. So thank you ever so much.